Question comes from Hyderabad, India. Are the vocals used in the backgrounds of videos considered music? Are they impermissible, etc.? Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Perhaps the person is talking about Islamic videos, how people have different lectures or khutbahs, especially if it's like a heart softening type of speech and it's like a humming in the background, something like that. Is that considered music? Is it permissible? First and foremost is we have to understand that when we talk about something being haram in Islam regarding vocals or instruments, then it's not just music. It is rulings on music and singing. Singing and music. So something doesn't necessarily have to be a musical tone or note or an instrument. It could just be singing. And it could be a type of singing which is halal and a type of singing which is haram. Whether it's the lyrics, how it's sung, who's singing it, who's it being sung to, boy, girl, mahram, etc. Without getting into the details of it. And then when it comes to an instrument, whether it's wind or string or pipe, or a drum, etc., percussion, whatever the case may be, there could be something which is haram, and there could be something which isn't necessarily haram, because of when it is done, who's it done by, who's it done for, etc. So just because something isn't music doesn't mean that it's automatically halal. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Just because it isn't music and isn't a musical instrument doesn't mean that it's not what? Halal. It could be haram too. All right? So that's for very important for us to understand the difference between the two. As far as what's the ruling on that, then I would avoid it, me personally. Can I say that it's haram, that type of quote-unquote Islamic humming that they have in the videos or in the background? I wouldn't say it's haram. I wouldn't say it's haram. Is it best to avoid? Should it be avoided? That's my personal opinion. But I would not necessarily say that you can't have that whatsoever in the video. Everyone has a different style. If there's a specific text from the Quran and Sunnah saying that it's haram, you can't do that, it can't be in the video, and that's one thing. Obviously, you saw the ilay. You have to go to that and stick to that. Alright? And Allah surely knows best. MashaAllah alaik.
Same questioner from Hadithdisciple, India. How do you explain to people who say, were our elders and imams wrong when there is a clear evidence in the Kitab and Sunnah?
Question says, how do we explain to someone who says that were our elders wrong when there's a clear proof from the Quran and the Sunnah type? Question obviously is going to be pertaining to some type of bid'ah, some type of batil practice or weak practice, cultural practice, etc. How do we explain to them? Well, first and foremost is we have to understand what Islam is and what Islam isn't. What Islam is and what Islam isn't. And one of the most important basic principles of Islam is that a forefather or an ancestor is never an absolute proof. It's never an absolute proof. Sometimes it can be a proof. Occasionally it can be a proof. But it's never ever absolutely a proof or an evidence. Ancestor. And we find this in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions وَوَصَّى بِهَا Ibrahim, that Ibrahim and Yaqub, they told their children and their grandchildren, they gave advice with the millah, the way of Abraham. Okay? And the question was asked in Surah Al-Baqarah, what will you worship after me? And they said, we worship the God, the ilah of what? Aba'ika Ibrahima wa Ismaila. We worship your God, the God of your forefathers. But the end of the ayah says what? Wahidan wa nahnu lahu. So that automatically excludes the sheer absolute proof of forefather. The only reason why I'm going to worship your God and the God of your forefathers is because He's one. And we are Muslims. So there's nothing wrong with in Islam following someone upon the truth. Yes, I'm a Muslim. It's the sunnah to honor your guest, and I take honor in it because my father did it. And it's a family heirloom. He did it, and his father did it. And our family, we're the guardians and the custodians of the Ramadan iftar in this masjid. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm following them upon the haqq, upon the truth. This is the dalil, qala Rasulullah, kada, 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 and I take pride, alhamdulillah, my family has been those who serve the Muslims in Ramadan. Tayyib. But the sheer fact that my father did it, and that's a proof. Our grandfathers, it's that simple. That's why they didn't accept him. Because you're saying our forefathers were stupid and foolish. And they worship idols, and they worship spirits, and they did this and they did that. And you know better than them, and you're a young man. And culturally, that's unacceptable. The elderly people, they teach the youth and guide the youth. How can it be the opposite? Let alone those who are alive, but some people for hundreds of years, thousands of years been doing this, and you're now saying that they're all wrong. That is the core of the deen. And if that is your rationale for what is and what isn't a sunnah, prayer, hajj, zakat, whatever the ibadah is, then you need to go back to the basic teachings of the Quran. And when it is said to them, follow what Allah has sent down, they say, bel, rather, نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ أَبَانَا. We follow what our forefathers, what we found them upon. Allah says even if the forefathers didn't know anything, didn't have any understanding, didn't have any guidance. So the sheer act that a forefather did it, without it being reasonable and logical, without it being textually proven, is not the way of what? Any scholar in Islam. And any imam who says, are you telling me that your forefathers were wrong and these imams are wrong? If that is his rationale, he doesn't deserve to be an imam. No, son. Who understood the dalil as you understood it? That's one thing. Are you saying that you have a better understanding than these ulama? That's one thing. And that's still an argument that can be made. That's still what? An argument that can be made. But the sheer fact that the forefathers and ancestors did it, that means what? That's not the way of a knowledgeable person. All right? So anyone who's talking like that is not upon the true way of knowledge. Not Abu Hanifa, not Malik, not Shafi, not Ahmed. The only reason why Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, said that the people of Medina, we look at what they do and we take that as the proof, is because they were people who learned the Quran and Sunnah and studied the Quran and Sunnah. And they had an organic farming and harvesting of the what? Quran and Sunnah, organically. That's why. Not just because they're Ahlul Medina and that's it. So that's incorrect. However, you have to be mindful of what you say and how you say it. You have to be aware of someone's feelings and emotions. Offending someone's forefathers is not going to be taken lightly. And obviously the people that are going to try to make it seem like you versus the ulama for 700 years in India. Avoid yourself. And it's one of the things that we learn from Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala. Not from Kitab al-Tawheed or Surah Thalatha or Masail al-Jahiliyyah, the books that are popular translated in English. But if you read Ad-Durr Siniyah and you read the different letters that Ibn Abdul Wahhab wrote and the other books that he wrote and what his children and grandchildren and disciples did, you have a great amount of respect for him. Much more, not saying that you won't have respect, but a whole nother level than the popular books that are in circulation. And Ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah ta'ala, one day, he was writing, I read this some years ago, he was writing to the different chieftains and the people that were against his dawah, or those who agreed with his dawah but they couldn't stomach it. And he said to them that those who say, are you more knowledgeable than this imam? He said that this can be done with the graves, and this can be said, and this can be slaughtered, and kava. He says, I'm not claiming to be more knowledgeable than them. Nor am I claiming to be on the same level of those scholars. He says, but I'm following the opinion of the scholars who are equal to them, if not greater. And they said it's haram and bid'ah and shirk. It's a whole different ballgame now. I'm not saying I know more than Abu Hanifa. But I'm saying I'm taking the view of Imam Ahmed, who either knew equal or more, for argument's sake. I don't understand this. So remove yourself from the situation. I'm not claiming that I know more than the scholars in India, but I'm quoting another scholar in India who was on there what? Now the playing field is what? Equal now. And now he has to figure out and sweat and move to another flight square. He didn't see that move. He didn't what? He didn't see that move. He was expecting this move to this square. You're young, you're ignorant, you're hasty, you're disrespectful, you can barely speak Arabic. What do you know? You know more than this Mola and this person? Oh, the Hadith, the Sunnah, it says it clear, the graves. You don't understand that book. You're a miskeen, you barely studied. This person has been studying Sahih Bukhari for 50 years before you were born. He circumcised you. And now you're telling him that you're wrong? You can't win that fight. But you can win the fight of quoting of what? Different story now. As the brother said, he said, well, I'm not tough. He said, don't holler at me. Don't beat me up. He said, I came to the conference to speak. He said, but those brothers over there, they're what? Those are the tough guys. You can go and talk with them. And any beef or argument that you have me coming here to speak, you what? You take it up with them. Because they're definitely what? Tough guys. But not me. Everyone understand the wisdom? And they were not what? They weren't expecting that. They were expecting him to puff out his chest. I come to speak, I can do it all. They were expecting to bully him. He said, what? That's their department. My department is knowledge. Those are the goons. And they don't have a great deal of discipline. All it takes is one what? Bismillah. Everyone understand this? So this is all manifested in Udu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah. Call to the path of your Lord with what? With hikmah. Not even wisdom. Wisdom doesn't give the full meaning of hikmah. Adu ila Allahi ala basira. I call to Allah with basira. It's not just knowledge and insight. You have to be sharp. Like Ibrahim was what? Sharp. He said that what? The big idol did it. The big idol, he broke the small idols. Now you figure it out. He made them think. Obviously they were too stubborn to accept it, but he definitely won that game. Everyone understand it? So that's my advice that I would give you. And Allah knows best.
This was AM from Birmingham, UK. Would you advise reading Al-Kashaf by Zamakhshari?
Question comes from Birmingham. Would you advise reading Al-Kashaf by Zamakhshari? No and yes. I would advise the book to be read by any layman or any beginning student of knowledge or any middle class student of knowledge. So no, I wouldn't advise it, let alone there's no need for it. There are many other books that give you the lugha and the balagha and this and that. There's no need to go back to that book of Zamakhshari, the Mu'tazili. That's first and foremost. As far as a scholar, someone who's learned, or a serious student of knowledge who's learned, who's strong, then that's a different story. That's a different story. And Allah knows best.
Next question from Birmingham, UK. Initials AA. I have brought a number of proposals to my father. However, my father does not step up as the wali. He does not bother contacting the brothers, or it's the case that the brothers don't bother contacting my father. I feel like at this stage marriage isn't written for me, and I really want to get married as I live in a house with a non-mahram, and I also want to seek knowledge badly.
Question also comes from Birmingham. With regards to my father not stepping up and taking the responsibility of being the wali or the wakil. Brothers contact him, he doesn't contact them back, or vice versa, etc. And I feel that marriage is not written for me, it's not decreed for me to get married, etc. The daughters of Moses, or excuse me, the daughters of that man, they said that the best man to hire is he who is strong and trustworthy. Talking about Moses. He's physically strong, he's capable, he's skilled, and he's also trustworthy. So whoever is your marriage guardian, your father or whoever it is, he has to be strong and he has to be trustworthy. Strong here is not translated to big muscles, but he has the ability to get it done. He has the gift of the gab. He knows how to talk. He has the communication skills. He has the networking skills. I know a young man, handsome brother, he can what? He can will and what? Deal. Will and deal. He has to be qawi. He can't be weak. And despite his willing and dealing, he has to also be what? Trustworthy. He can't just marry off with someone who has a lot of money, or someone who's really cute or handsome, or a brother who's physically strong, or a brother who has this, but someone that's a good brother, and someone that's compatible with you, and has good chemistry what? With you. So the best one to hire is he who was what? Strong and what? Trustworthy. And we mentioned this in Birmingham. That's a qaida for all of the deen. Who should be the imam of the masjid? Al-Qawiyul Ameen. Who should be the mu'adhin? Al-Qawiyul Ameen. Who should be my son-in-law? Al-Qawiyul Ameen. Who should be the bodyguard? Al-Qawi Al-Ameen. Everyone understand this? What happened there, huh? Then obviously there's levels of strength, and there's levels of quwwah, and there's levels of amana. And sometimes you can't always get somebody that's perfectly balanced, but you have to be able to what? Have the vision to try your best. So if your father can't get it done, then you have to what? Next. Wallahu alam. Or give him advice, give him nasiha, tell him the importance of it and how serious it is. Huh? And I'm not going to say this, I don't know if this sister or whatever, but in general, not saying, inshallah, the sister, sister's free from this, but in general, Sometimes you have to be blunt with certain human beings. And sometimes you can't sugarcoat things. There may be a father who refuses to marry off his daughters and this and that and oh, not yet, you need college, or the brother's not this and he's too this and he's not that, etc. Sometimes a sister has to go up to the father when he's coming home. He came home from work, he's sitting in his love seat or his sofa, he's eating his food, drinking his evening tea. He says, Abby, how would you feel if I brought home a bastard child? What? Spit out his food, his lamb, he's eating his what? What did you say? I was a bit left. How would you feel? Oh, you can sit down. What would I tell you if I'm pregnant right now? What would you say? How would you feel? How much shame would there be in the family if I said that I'm 2 months pregnant, 3 months pregnant? I'm wearing a sweater or you can't see it. How would you feel? You're definitely going to get his what now? Without a question. And he's going to know the necessity now. Everyone understand? So sometimes you have to be blunt. You have to be blunt sometimes. And Allah knows best. Not saying that that's the approach. I'm not saying that go out and make zina or want to make zina. But everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? You got to be realistic now. And sometimes you have to look at the nature of humans. And it doesn't always have to be the deen and the sunnah. Because if we, not the people, me, us, if we were following the kitab and the sunnah and the deen, we would not be in the situation in which we're in right now. Right. We wouldn't even have these problems and issues if we were following kitab and sunnah properly. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. But oftentimes you have to appeal to someone on their own personal selfish level. How would you feel? What does me going out and making zina, how does that affect you and not me? Obviously, most of the times, most fathers, they only care about themselves. I'm going to be ashamed. It's my daughter. I'm. And they don't really too much care what? About the actual daughter. So it's not always the hadith says, إِذَا أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلَقَهُ لَا. If that hadith was even, if he was even ready to accept that hadith, you would not be in the what? The situation that you're in right now. You'd be married already if he was a person of hadith. So sometimes you have to apply it to him. Abby, how messed up is it going to be when I come home with a big stomach? How messed up is it going to be? Huh? So be mindful of that. And Allah knows best.
Initials M.A., sister from Toronto, Ontario. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Is it okay to delay the Dhuhr minutes before Asr? Like pray 15 minutes before Asr comes in so I can pray them together at the mosque during my lunch break.
Question comes from Toronto, Canada. Is it permissible to delay Dhuhr minutes before Salat al-Asr, approximately 15 minutes, so I can pray both of them at the mosque on my lunch break? The general answer is that it is permissible. As long as the prayer is made in its proper time, then it is permissible. That's the general simplified answer. But it shouldn't be done all the time. It shouldn't be abused. There's no way that you can make every day Salat al-Dhuhr just before it goes out to Asr. That shouldn't be done. That should not be done. But in circumstance, in need or necessity, sometimes you have to do it like that until you get a better situation, a better break, you're on probation or whatever. It is permissible as long as the prayer is made in the actual what? Time. And obviously there's a big difference between 15 minutes and 5 minutes. Because 5 minutes or even 10 minutes is give or take with regards to the timetables, the prayer schedules. Give or take. It could be 4:05 or it could be 3:55 it comes in. Give or take. But 15 minutes, 20 minutes is generally, and Allah knows best.
Next question. Initials HS from Toronto, Canada. Can you say salam instead of assalamu alaikum?
We've mentioned this before on Mufti Q&A. Inshallah, please go back to Mufti Q&A. We've explained that with some type of detail with regards to saying just salam. Next question.
Initials RA from Queens, New York. Assalamu alaikum. I've heard of a hadith that mentions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sleeping when we sleep. I also know of the verse in Isaiah Kursi that mentions nor slumber or sleep can seize him. Can you please explain this?
Question is from where?
Queens, New York.
Question from Queens. I've heard a hadith in which it says that Allah sleeps when we sleep. But I've also read in the Quran, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Neither sleep nor slumber falls upon Allah. So how is this? Is this authentic, etc.? This will be our last question tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Our last question that we're going to take tonight. Allah Azza wa Jal as mentioned in the authentic hadith and Sahih Muslim and others, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنَامُ وَلَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ أَنْ يَنَامُ. The Allah Azza wa Jalla sleeps not, and it is totally unnecessary and there's no need for Allah to sleep. Let alone what is mentioned in Ayatul Kursi and other parts of the Quran, in which Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Qawi Al-Aziz, Al-Muqtadir, Al-Qadir, Al-Qadir. Allah Azza wa Jalla's names and His attributes is that He is the most mighty, Al-Mateen, the most powerful. And there is no limit or any cap on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and strength and might, Azza wa Jalla. So Allah does not sleep. Allah Azza wa Jalla never slept. He will not sleep. He does not sleep. And any hadith that says that Allah sleeps when we sleep, there's no doubt is fabricated. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد جزاكم الله خيرا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام.